library was always a place of solace, but that evening, it felt heavy with an unsettling presence. As I entered, the musty smell of old books sent a shiver down my spine. I could hear faint whispers, even though I was alone, or so I thought. Wandering deeper into the stacks, I searched for a book for my research project. Shadows danced around me, and every so often, I caught glimpses of movement, but whenever I turned, nothing was there. After a few minutes, I found an ancient tome, its leather cover cracked and dusty. As I pulled it from the shelf, the lights flickered above, plunging me into darkness. When they returned, the atmosphere felt charged, like the calm before a storm. Suddenly, a cold breeze swept through the aisle, accompanied by soft whispering, unintelligible yet haunting. I froze, the book clutched tightly in my hands. "Is someone there?" I called, my voice trembling. Silence. I shook off the unease and opened the book, but the words were blurred, swirling in a language I couldn't understand. I flipped through the pages frantically, my heart racing. Then I saw it, a shadow moving in the corner of my eye. I turned quickly, but again, nothing was there. Just as I was about to dismiss it, I felt a chill on the back of my neck, as if someone was standing behind me. I whipped around. At the edge of the aisle stood a cloaked figure, its features obscured. My heart raced. "Who are you?" I stammered. The figure tilted its head, studying me. Panic surged through me, and I dropped the book. "Leave this place," it whispered, voice like rustling leaves. I turned to run, but the shelves seemed to close in. The whispers grew louder, echoing my fear. "Leave, leave." Desperate, I dashed toward the exit, the figure gliding behind me. I could feel its presence, cold and oppressive. Just as I reached the door, I glanced back. The figure had stopped, hidden but watching me with sorrowful eyes. I burst through the door into the bright hallway. The weight lifted, and the whispers faded. Leaning against the wall, I gasped for breath. But a chill ran down my spine as the library door creaked open slightly. For a brief moment, I saw the figure standing there, shrouded in shadow. "Remember me," it whispered, echoing in my mind long after it vanished. Even as I fled, I could still feel its gaze upon me, a reminder that some shadows never truly leave.
I sprinted down the dimly lit hallway, my heart racing as the lights flickered ominously overhead. Shadows stretched across the walls, making the empty school feel alive with lurking threats. I reached the exit, only to find it locked. Panic surged through me as I yanked the handle repeatedly, glancing back over my shoulder, half expecting her to be right behind me. Think, I told myself, desperate for a way out. I dashed into the nearest classroom, slamming the door shut and leaning against it, chest heaving. The room was dark and silent, but I quickly fumbled for the light switch. The fluorescent bulbs buzzed to life, casting a harsh glow over the empty desks and chairs. Suddenly, a scratching sound echoed from the other side of the door, like fingernails clawing at the wood. My stomach dropped. "She's found me." The handle began to turn, slowly and deliberately. I backed away, trembling, as the door creaked open. There she stood, framed in the dim light, a girl with her head cocked at an unnatural angle, her face twisted into a grotesque grin that sent chills racing down my spine. "Come down," she whispered, her voice echoing like a long-buried secret. Instinct kicked in, and I bolted past her, adrenaline fueling my flight as I darted into the hallway. I raced toward the front doors, pushing them open with all my strength, bursting out into the cool night air. But as I turned to run, there she was, standing in the doorway, her silhouette framed by the dim light. The smile was still there, wide and unnatural. "Come back," she called, her voice a haunting melody that sent a fresh wave of terror through me. I ran faster than I ever thought possible, my feet pounding against the pavement as I tore away from the school. But the feeling of her eyes on me lingered, and the echoes of her voice chased me into the night, whispering, "Come back." Just as I thought I'd escaped, I felt a chill creep down my spine. I turned for one last glance at the school, and in the darkness, I heard her voice again, softer now, lingering in the night air. "You can't run from me."
It wasn't just that it was at the end of the dimmest hallway in the school, or that no one ever used it anymore. It was the desk, the one in the corner by the window. Old, scratched up, and forever empty. Teachers never assigned it to anyone, but we all knew the story. Years ago, a student named Claire sat there. She was quiet, shy. One day, she didn't come to class. She didn't come to school ever again. No one knew why or what happened to her. She just vanished. The desk had been empty ever since. I didn't believe the stories. Ghosts, curses, stuff like that was for little kids. But when Mr. Harper, our substitute, told me to sit at the desk, I hesitated. He didn't know about Claire. How could he? He was new. Still, I felt a chill as I walked toward it, my footsteps echoing in the otherwise silent room. I sat down. The wood was cold, colder than it should have been. I glanced around. Everyone else was minding their own business, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me. A tap on my shoulder. I turned around, but no one was there. Another tap, this time harder. I gripped the edge of the desk, my pulse racing. "Who's doing that?" I whispered, but no one answered. Then, I saw it, scratched into the wood, almost invisible until I ran my fingers over it. "Help me." My heart stopped. Before I could react, a faint voice, barely a breath, whispered in my ear, "They never found me."